So welcome to a session of the High Level Political Forum.
And Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the COVID-19 pandemic has had a spectacular impact of the world's efforts to reduce poverty. It also provides us with an opportunity to build a better future.
We need to rethink the idea of governance by placing SDG 16 at its center.
As the pandemic continues to rage, public service institutions in conflict-affected countries have been tested in their capacity to mount a coordinated response.
The poor and vulnerable are more exposed to its impact and face more difficulties in adjusting to the new normal.
The Russian scientists have already developed 4 vaccines for COVID on their relevant technical platforms. The first of them, Sputnik V, is now being used in 60 countries.
International governance, standards and rules for trade, investments, taxation, and financial flows must underpin national efforts to achieve more equal and inclusive societies.
Madam Moderator, we believe that SDG 17 is of particular importance following the pandemic because it is this SDG on international partnerships.
We live in strange and unpredictable times when the threat of a pandemic and restrictive measures imposed by those in charge has made peaceful assembly even harder than before. Times when inclusive and transformative efforts to counter deep-rooted inequalities are essential. In this decade of action, Sweden remains a dedicated ally in the pursuit of peace, at home and throughout the world.
The COVID-19 pandemic has set back progress on governance. In its external action, the EU will continue to support progress on democratic governance, rule of law, justice reform, and more effective taxation.
Peace, progress, and sustainability are built on the foundation of justice. Nepal's constitution has internalized such ethos and institutionalized the peace process and political transformation.
COVID-19 has exacerbated our systemic vulnerabilities to crises and exposed the failure of macroeconomic governance as 40 out of 43 countries are experiencing an unprecedented increase in debt to GDP ratio in the Asia Pacific alone. Yet, business as usual continues, as almost 96% of the support provided by multilateral banks and international financial institutions are loans, with meager amounts in grants or debt relief.
Even if we mobilize the resources and have effective governance, the question, of course, is governance for whom? And there, I think, the principle that's come out very clearly in the COVID crisis and will come out again in the climate crisis, that we need to have equal rights to health and to a safe environment.
The need to think of a new social contract to prevent simmering discontents. And this, I think, is a crucial issue that has come out of the pandemic. It not only has caused immediate suffering, but it has exposed inequalities and exclusion that were in existence beforehand, but not so visible.
Corruption has diverted funds from investment in healthcare. Where corruption is systematic, governments tend to spend less on healthcare, thus increasing inequalities among societies, but also among countries.
The crisis has shown us that institutions that are ensuring transparency and accountability have become more important than ever.
There is broad agreement among governments that we need new global tax rules, but we still don't have an inclusive body where those rules can be negotiated. Instead, decision-making on global tax rules is being led by the G7, the G20, the OECD, which is also known as the Rich Countries Club.
Interlinked challenges such as COVID-19, climate change, diminished biodiversity, and continuing crises rooted in economic, judicial, and human rights inequalities inform our call for accelerated action.
The very lesson from COVID-19 is to strengthen public healthcare systems, enfeebled by massive privatizations. And yet, almost 76 out of 91 IMF negotiated loans in 2020 pushed for further belt tightening that could result in deep cuts to public healthcare and social protection systems. Such systemic issues have escalated health crises into economic, social, and environmental crises. As a result, decades of progress on poverty, hunger, health and education, gender, water and sanitation, inequalities, climate action, and stronger institutions is being reversed.
Young people are described as active agents of peace, which means that equal treatment and representation should occur. We want to change the narrative from passive stakeholders to active shareholders.
This youth-led campaign pleads the UN member states to request an advisory opinion from the International Court of Justice and the linkage between climate change and human rights.
The international community is still off track on achieving SDG 16+, and we've unfortunately seen further stagnation and even serious backsliding in progress, even before the COVID-19 crisis.
We need to continue to seek cooperative approach to shared challenges, not only to be better prepared and to create resilience for future shocks and crises, but also to reinforce trust and strengthen security for all.
As we continue to relentlessly encroach on nature and degrade ecosystems, we endanger human health. We need to rethink our relationship with nature and build back better. It has been recognized that business as usual is no longer an option.
The SDGs provide us with a historical and unique opportunity to ensure that the more than 370 million indigenous people in at least 90 countries are not left behind.
Access to justice for all persons with disability who have experienced gender-based violence during the pandemic by guaranteeing accessibility and reasonable accommodation in the judicial process.
The transformative new social contract requires urgent action to redress inequalities within and among countries, reconfigure power relations across socio-economic and political spheres, dismantle neoliberal capitalism, democratize governance, and ensure climate justice.
So this meeting is adjourned, and thank you very much again to all of you for your active participation.